Hi there, you're listening to Unnatural Selection, the show about newsy type stuff and things. My name is George.
My name is Tom.
And my name is Adam.
And with our powers combined, we are 100% of Unnatural Selection. Our raw, unmitigated power cannot be denied. Make sure you listen to us, make sure you follow us, rather, at our salubrious home on the web at unnaturalshow.com.
George, I'd
it's a
go
podcast.
higher. We are 110% of Unnatural Selection. We bring that 110%.
It's not how percentages work.
We were
Credit
talking
to the
about
boys.
it. Yeah, credit to the boys. We were talking about it in the locker room before Coach gave us a really inspiring speech.
Yeah.
There was Gatorade poured
over the coach. Yeah, I think that's when you win. From sports movies that I've seen on accident.
No, it's champagne when you win, right?
I don't know. It's a podcast about the news. And we're going to get stuck into the Trump-Melania stuff in a second, but we decided to get the Australian news out of the way, get it done, get it sorted.
Nothing of import happens here. Nothing matters. Let's just get it out of the way.
Nothing matters. It should be the tagline for the Unnatural Selection podcast. Unnatural Selection. Nothing matters. We're all going to die. Speaking of
The people who died?
Victoria Cross recipient Ben Roberts-Smith, who has been talked about on the show.
Friend of the show.
Spoken about much in relation to the defamation trial that he lost. Was it a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever it was?
2023, I believe.
2023.
So, yeah.
There was a lot of talk about, burning of hard drives and things like that, which I recall.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there was an allegation that came out at that time from some journalists that contended that Ben Roberts-Smith was one of the people that had been implicated in a report that talked to, I think he was codenamed Leonidas. Basically, some troops from the SAS had contended that he had committed war crimes, and they had reported that out and in Afghanistan. And then it was revealed to be that person that they were alleging who it was Ben Roberts-Smith. So that was in 2023. The defamation trial happened.
Well, that was in 2020. That was
when
in
the original reporting
That was when
2017
2017 was the original report.
Yeah.
It was actually ages ago.
It was ages ago.
The defamation trial was brought after that.
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago, and then he was unsuccessful in that action. And then it's been revealed this week that he has been arrested and charged with war crimes.
The war crime
from
of murder.
Criminal perspective, yeah.
The line I've seen toted around, it's not charged with murder, charged with the war crime of murder.
Yeah, but believe it or not, that's
still can't murder people in
you still can't murder people in combat. Yeah, so that's the crime with which he has been accused. He's been charged, taken into custody. Now, I would just caution us all to remember that because the case is now sub judice, before a judge, we need to be careful as to the things that we say. We're just going to talk about the things that are facts because now it's a criminal matter. The things that we could say about this a week ago are no longer the things we can say about it now because it's before a judge, right? So let's just all be careful.
Yeah, so just I think I don't know. This is another one of those you brought this on yourself kind of thing, right? We're going to talk a lot this episode, I think, about people bringing things upon themselves and thinking about some of the future stories that we're going to cover as well. But yeah, this was all, so I'd imagine so much of the evidence that's going to be brought forward in this is as a result of the investigations conducted of the reporting and in litigating the defamation trial. They interviewed heaps of people, they dug into because the defamation trial failed on that much lower bar of proof of that much lower bar of we find it substantially true. Yeah, it's just what they found
the balance of probabilities.
Yeah,
50-50.
Of substantially true.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. So it's hey, a lot of that might not have happened were it not for the defamation trial happening. So, that witness or that witness might not have been spoken to or oh my God, it's just...
So two things. Sorry, before we go on. So there's a much higher standard. The burden of proof in a criminal trial is much higher and needs to be beyond a reasonable doubt. And as you say, Tom, I think I heard a statement from the prosecution saying something to the effect of this is going to be different for us because we don't have physical evidence. We don't have access to the site or things like that, because obviously where these crimes are alleged to have happened was in Afghanistan, which they don't have access to. So it's going to be much more reliant on
and the
witness-
locations have probably changed a lot in the intervening 15 plus years,
whatever it is. So,
Well,
so it's going to be
they can't even get in there. It's like it's held by the
it's going to be
Taliban,
much more reliant on the testimony of the other soldiers that were there and things like that. So it's probably going to be a pretty difficult case to prosecute for those reasons, as I understand it. So it's but the key thing the key point that you bring up there, Tom, is I struggle to see how this prosecution would have been initiated without the reporting that occurred a couple of years ago, sort of, documenting these alleged crimes out in the public record, because it was quite deep reporting. I've heard the journalists interviewed about it quite a lot. Like, it was a really substantial effort over a number of months and years.
It was a huge trial, famously bankrolled
the reporting
by
Kerry Stokes.
Kerry Stokes. Like, the defamation trial was huge. Sorry, Adam, you were saying?
Yeah, go on.
No, I don't know what I was saying. Let's try to thought.
So on Tuesday afternoon, Ben Roberts-Smith was charged with 5 counts of war crime and refused bail, which is, definitely interesting. He was taken to Silverwater Prison Complex in Brisbane's West, where he will remain in custody and is due to appear in bail division court on Wednesday. So I don't know if that's already happened or if that's this coming Wednesday. So
No, he appeared this week, and I think there was a discussion around whether or not they could, because he appeared in absentia, and they were like, can we do this in person at a different court? The judge was like, well, I don't know how we're going to schedule that in. Anyway, so the whole thing's been sort of kicked down the road, but as far as I'm aware, he's still in Silverwater Prison.
So the prosecution has said it will be alleged the victims were shot by the accused or shot by subordinate members of the ADF in the presence of and acting on the orders of the accused, Commissioner Barrett said at a media conference in Sydney. So it's, and then the reason that Leonidas thing came about was that one of the accusations is that he kicked a Afghani civilian off a cliff and either shot him or directed him to be shot, is the allegation. So reference to the movie 300 where Leonidas kicks a guy.
It's worth looking at the actual charges, because we haven't really spoken about them. So there's only one out of the 5, I believe, where he's actually been the one where he has done the act of the killing. The other 4 are, it's interesting, it's procuring the murder of, is kind of the concept. So the actual,
but if you're a commanding officer in the field and you direct someone to do a thing,
but listen, so you can aid, you can abet, you can counsel, or you can procure a murder, which is the same as if you
like hired a hitman or something.
Conduct a murder.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that's a difference, I guess, potentially between a civilian murder trial. The charges have been brought by the AFP, so it's not a military court doing this. It's a civilian court, which is another interesting point. The AFP has 53 crimes allegations that they've investigated since 2021. There are 10 that are still ongoing, and there is another soldier that's currently before the courts where he has also been charged with a war crime. So this is like an ongoing thing the AFP has been going through, and I suspect that Ben Roberts-Smith's the timing of this seems to have waited for the fact that he had an appeal before the High Court on the fact that because he lost his defamation
trial.
He appealed it. So been sitting with the High Court, and he lost that very recently. And I suspect the AFP has been waiting for that to clear the High Court before proceeding.
There.
Correct.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So to say that the evidence, so Tom, your point on that the evidence that was brought in the defamation trial is going to be important, that leads me to believe that yes, it is going to be somewhat involved, a part
relevant
of this investigation.
Yeah.
What I've found interesting this week is not so much the allegations themselves. We've been talking about this for years, and that it's not been an ongoing saga. The interesting thing has been the public reaction, the media reaction, and the political reaction to it. Now, both
We've got a
the
quote from
government-
Pauline, if you're ready for that.
in a minute, both the government and the opposition have had fairly, it's before the courts, it's not a reflection on the rest of the ADF. We can't comment on it, yada, yada, yada. Pauline Hanson has come out very pro Ben Roberts-Smith, very supportive of Ben Roberts-Smith, and you can read that quote now if you want, George.
Senator Pauline Hanson said she remained steadfast in my support of Mr. Roberts-Smith. Quote, Ben, his immediate and broader defence family need the Australian people's support right now, and I will not abandon him like so many other politicians, unquote, she said on social media. Nine News reporter Nick McKenzie, who broke the news of the allegations against Mr. Roberts-Smith, said the arrest had come as a surprise. Quote, this is a really grim day for Australia, he said.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it's interesting that section of, that Pauline Hanson is...
that's
taken that
now a
line.
political issue on a criminal
Well,
matter. Yeah,
and the other
that
thing is,
seems bizarre.
even Kerry Stokes, has basically said, "Oh well, it's before the courts. We can't possibly comment." That's despite Channel 7's breathless
away.
coverage,
Backed away like
breathless
Homer
coverage of them.
Simpson into so many hedges, just backing away slowly from Ben Roberts-Smith.
And so for clarity, what we're talking about there is Kerry Stokes is the sort of billionaire
Owner of
CEO,
Channel 7.
Owner of Channel 7, yeah. And Ben Roberts-Smith was quite high up in Channel 7 Queensland for a long period of time, several years. Had a personal relationship with Kerry Stokes. Kerry Stokes bankrolled his defamation trial. So it's interesting that, obviously it's a criminal court, so it's a pretty easy out for anyone to be like, well, it's before the court, so can't possibly comment. It's also true, but it's also like, it's an easy out. Now, what I've seen
politicians love it when stuff is before the courts.
Yeah.
Because it means they don't need to say shit about it.
What I've seen on social media, particularly
Different
Facebook,
story.
has been interesting. There are a lot of pages popping up that are like, do you support this man, Ben Roberts-Smith? Do you support him?
Hard to
And-
support. Thumbs up if you reckon, you don't support. But either way, my post gets lots of engagement, right?
Yeah, and I suspect, there's a lot of people that do support him, absolutely, and then there's this whole sort of politicization around this concept of like turning what is a criminal investigation into a left and right sort of
Political matter. Yeah, it's political.
political matter, which I don't think necessarily politicians, apart from Pauline, are engaging in. Even Andrew Hasty, I didn't realize this. Andrew Hasty served with Ben Roberts-Smith and is actually one of the people that gave evidence to the trial.
The defamation trial.
To the defamation
I didn't
trial.
know that.
And he had to release a
I knew he
statement being
served, but-
like, I can't talk about this. I'm probably going to get called on again. So, like, it's been
that's
interesting.
interesting.
A lot of people that I would expect to be talking about it are talking about it because they can't. So,
Well, the
it's
quote
just-
that reached out to me, I shared this with you guys the other day, was another friend of the show, former Prime Minister Tony Abbott, decided to come out and say something where he said, I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but the example was that you can't judge the actions of men in armed combat against the standards of civilian life. And I just thought, like, I see what you're saying there in the sense of, like, I've never
the heat of
served in the
battle is
military,
different
obviously,
to-
like heat of
yeah.
battle, and like, obviously soldiers kill people, like that's
the job
kind
description.
of how
to
it
some
is in a
degree,
war.
yeah.
But Tones, they're not judging him based on the standards of civilian life. Like, he's been charged with the war crime of murder. He's been judged
under
on the
war-
standards of
under
men
war
in armed
standards.
combat.
Yes,
like,
yeah, exactly.
That's not what's happening, Tony. Like, it's
There
such
are
a
very-
dumb thing to say.
There are very specific,
Rhodes
laws
Scholar
of
Tony Abbott.
laws of armed conflict.
Yeah, there are
the
rules of
UN has
engagement. There was a
outlined.
film famously named it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, more specifically, there are laws of armed conflict that the UN has outlined, and these are the kind of things that, like after the Serbian and the
Bosnian.
Balkans, conflicts, the Bosnian stuff. All those people that have been pulled through the Hague. These are the kind of things that they're getting judged on. Now, I'm not going to get too into it. Look, no doubt, Afghanistan, any counterinsurgency operation is complicated, but what we're saying here is that or at least what I'm assuming is being alleged, and what they would have to prove, is that, one, it definitely happened. Like, they need to have the evidence there to say that, this
which is hard without a body or a cause of death or physical evidence or
So they need to do that.
Testimony,
but they also need to be able to prove that the situation is what it was, and that that there was a clear delineation between anything that was in or out of combat, right? So these are the kind of things that they'll have to work through. I don't really understand the nuts and bolts of it. I'm not a lawyer, but it's going to be an interesting one. I don't know how they'll get to that burden of proof.
Well,
but yeah.
They've already updated his plaque in the Australian War Memorial in Canberra.
They've done this a few times now.
They've had to, I think that plaque's getting longer. Because, obviously him being like our most decorated soldier or something like that. But, there's like a display in the Australian War Memorial, and they took the plaque down and brought it back with all the same content, just with an extra paragraph at the bottom that just says, in April 2026, Ben Roberts-Smith was charged XYZ. And I think their justification for doing that is interesting, because I know at first you're kind of like, this is ongoing before the courts. Like, you can't be just updating this constantly with what the hell's going on.
Like a Wikipedia article.
It's not a blog. It's not a Wikipedia
The plaque
article.
guy is thrilled. He's getting crazy billables off this plaque.
Yeah, if you're a plaque manufacturer in Canberra, you're laughing. But
it's more of a... Here's my WhatsApp. Just text me when you need changes.
Yeah, but I think their reasoning for doing it, I think, is actually quite a good one, in the sense of, like, not only is the War Memorial a memorial, but it's a museum. And if you went to visit a museum, I think, like, if you're a museum curator or whatever, like, that someone coming to visit your museum, you don't want them to walk away with not the most up-to-date impression of what you've just witnessed. So I get it, but I get that they've done this after, like, it doesn't say he did it or whatever. It's just a charged with, and that's a fact. That's a fact. So it's there on the plaque. So,
I think what's most concerning to me, though, as you say, Adam, is the dynamic that you described, where it's like the Australian public's complete inability to hold two ideas in their head at the same time, where it's like, we support the ADF, we support our soldiers, we support our boys, the rough and tumble, and we also believe that if someone commits war crimes, they should be charged and prosecuted for those war crimes, right? Like, just because your opinion of whether you like Ben Roberts-Smith is, like, completely irrelevant to this discussion, right? Like, if someone commits a crime, then they need to be charged, prosecuted, and sentenced, and that has no bearing on whether we support the troops or whatever. You know what I mean?
And
like,
the other thing that we it's hard for the Australian public, because we mythologize the Anzacs and our serving members. All countries do this to a certain extent, right?
Sure, it's
with this sort of hero
patriotism
status.
in its best form, nationalism in its worst.
And, like, people like Ben Roberts-Smith has won the Victoria Cross. I don't think there's any doubt about why he won that or how he won it. I think, someone could be very brave and do something incredibly good to help, other people, their comrades, whatever. But they can also do very bad things.
Yeah.
People are capable of a diverse...
Of both.
Of both, right? That the people aren't necessarily, and this is something that my mother-in-law says quite often, that the people aren't good or bad. It's that they do good or bad things. Something to that effect, right?
Well, I can think of some people that are purely bad, and we might be covering them later in the show.
Yeah, I mean, there is a certain point where you become the sum of your actions, right?
Yes.
There's a ratio.
Must get defined.
Yeah.
There's a ratio.
But the point being is, people are capable of both, as George said. So, it's interesting because people aren't trained to think like that, and
There's
the
no
Australian
nuance.
public are going to see this as a very binary. He's either a good or bad person. What is he?
And that tells you what you should think about the Australian Defence Force as well as a result. And it's like, well, the two are completely independent of one another. They're mutually exclusive. What one person does and what crimes they're charged with, like, unless it's like a systemic problem where it's like everyone in, or substantial numbers of people in an armed force are consistently doing things that are against the law, like, unless that's the case, you can't paint everyone in an organization as large as the Australian Defence Force with one brush, right?
Yeah.
So it's
It's
Yeah,
going
I
to
don't
play
know,
out. It's going to take a while. It's going to play out over a couple of years.
People are fucking
Yeah.
simple, man. Like
Yeah.
to reduce an argument as complex as this, which we've just spent the last 20 minutes discussing, into like a thumbs up or a heart, is like I really do
wild
think
thing.
so. Social media is just
And
completely melting
and
our
I
fucking
wonder-
brains, honestly.
I mean, I had a look at some of these pages. Like some of them they've been there for a while. They're just right wing sort of
Advance Australia.
let's lock down crime.
Yeah,
But I wonder, is this going to get seized on by organisations like Advance Australia or other foreign actors, like we've seen in the past, where they just use it to stoke division? Because
I think it could be a
it's
flashpoint
friction
for
point,
sure. Yeah.
And it's just wild to me that like they see the ability to harvest hate clicks, and whether it be from a purely self-interested point, or whether it's like this is part of a broader strategy to sort of divide.
I honestly
culture.
think so
know.
much of it is just motivated by algorithmic dopamine hits, where people running a page go, oh, I posted about this thing, I got like 5 times the amount of attention that my posts normally get. Oh, I'm just going to post about this more. And you get this dynamic where in order to grow your page, to get those fucking little dopamine hits, you create a situation of audience capture where your audience is kind of telling you, they're incentivizing you what to post. And so you post it more and harder and more extreme. And it kind of like leads everyone down these, not just the people receiving the information, but the people posting the information, both tend to go down this deeper rabbit hole together into more extreme perspectives. You see it with the manosphere, you see it with, political reporting, you see it with all sorts of stuff where it's like the algorithmized incentivization of outrage kind of like naturally pushes people to more extremes on these platforms. That's not new, but like we're seeing the way it's in
Playing
different
out in real
ways
time. Yeah.
bifurcating our society, right? Where now everything is a binary political issue. It's like, no, I'm pretty sure before social media, we just had the idea of like, if someone committed a crime, they should be investigated, they should go on trial, and innocent until proven guilty. And then if they're proven guilty, then they should go to jail. And it doesn't matter if it's the prime minister, doesn't matter if it's, just Joe Blow, regular guy, doesn't matter if it's a bit like we just all kind of more or less believed in the principle of equal treatment under the law. And there wasn't this like political lens over it. Now everything's political, right? So Ben Roberts-Smith's arrest becomes political. Like whether you believe he's innocent or guilty is now political and puts you on one side or other of the divide. And that's just really unhealthy as a society. I don't know what we do about it, but it's bad.
The woods.
The woods. Let's head off to the woods.
I don't know how I transitioned to the woods.
Speaking of more things that'll make you want to go to the woods,
Yeah.
we're real pro woods podcast, I feel at the moment.
Unnatural selection. Get the fuck out of here. If you can hear this, you're too close to an internet connection.
Yeah. Oh God, where to start, I suppose, with
Iran.
what's going on. Yeah, I guess Iran,
We got a peace deal, guys.
Yeah.
Ceasefire.
My soul is like fully leaving my body.
Yes.
I'm ready to ascend.
Yeah.
I'm done with this mortal plane of existence.
Oh,
I'm happy
guys, we got a
to shuffle off
ceasefire.
this mortal
Well,
coil.
yeah,
It's
So-
been a massive victory.
Let's start with
Massive victory for everyone. Don't worry about it.
let's
It's
start
all
with
good.
what happened at the start of the week. So after Trump's, I want to say 8th 48-hour deadline in 10 days.
Where he threatened genocide and to wipe an entire civilization off the map. 90 million people just murdered by nukes, I guess, apparently. Who knows?
Yeah, that was a scary couple hours, especially here in Australia where, the way it, I know probably in America it was very stressful given their time frame, because I think this happened after our last recording, that, my wife and I were just getting ready to go to sleep, and I just, we checked our phones like idiots. This is something like midnight, and it says, Donald Trump has tweeted, a civilization dies tonight. And I'm like, what? Well,
Sweet dreams. Love
okay,
you.
I guess
Good
we're
night.
going to bed. I hope I don't wake up to find out that Iran no longer exists.
Yeah.
And then wake up in the morning where it's like, with 90 minutes to go on the deadline, Donald Trump has withdrawn his threat to do that because they've reached a peace deal. Like, fuck, that was a scary couple hours.
And it actually caused a big rift in the MAGA mediaverse where people like Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson and
all
Alex
the worst
Jones,
people you know
all
made
the worst
the
people
right
you know.
point.
What's that? What's the name of that commentator? The one who was saying that Macron's wife was really a man.
Oh,
Candace Owens.
Candace Owens.
Like all of these people who are like Trump,
toadies.
Toadies, yes. Thank you for using a more appropriate word than I was about to use.
Sycophants.
Even Alex Jones was like, I'm the Sandy Hook guy, and I think that's fucking crazy. Everyone was going like, his brain is melting. I think we need to 25th Amendment him. Like, MAGA media supporters were going, Megyn Kelly was like, don't tell me he's playing like 3D chess. Like, this is fucking nuts. This is insane that the president is doing this.
Like, it's crazy just to be like, I am going to genocide Iranians.
Yes.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson pulled out his best. What's going on?
What are we doing here?
What are we doing here?
What's happening?
That's the
What's
goal.
going on?
That's the rule now.
What's the goal?
But this is a continuation. We talked about it last week. The guy's in a panic spiral.
Oh,
and he's just trying to tweet his way out of it.
Rage tweet his way out of it, yeah.
And then in response to these various commentators, he then released another tweet basically calling them all dumb people in 20 words or less.
Losers. Winning friends and influencing people, the art of the deal.
So, yeah, but after all those crazy... man, you could do a whole episode on the tweets, but after those crazy tweets... Yeah, they did announce a ceasefire, which, as it turns out, was just the Iranian proposal.
Yeah, they had a 10-point thing of like, these are our demands for a ceasefire. We've agreed to a 2-week or something ceasefire, and this is what we want. And most of them were like, stop bombing us,
compensation, and
that was the big one. I was like, one of them was like, and pay, essentially like in a legal case of like, and pay our costs for what you did to us. Like, well, that's never going to happen from the Trump administration.
But then Trump immediately gave away the bag, and he was like, we find these terms to be an amenable basis from which to work. And it's like, you've just given, what out of the deal bullshit is this, where you just accede to the other side's demands before what?
Well, this is the thing, is that he's been panicking, and he just took the only option that was available to him.
And then they denied it after the fact. They said he never said that, but it was like widely reported that he did say that with multiple sources. So it's like...
Yeah. And then this is after... So the Americans gave them a 15-point plan. The Iranians were like, no. The Iranians gave them a 10-point plan, and then the Americans were like, no.
It's like, you give us a 10-point plan, we're America. We give you
And then obviously
points.
he got so desperate.
Check out how many points I got on this plan. Slides it across the table. It's 20.
It's not like it's like Tony Abbott's 6-point plan still takes the cake. Stop the words. Anyway, it is obvious that they panicked, and through the back channeling, apparently Pakistan again was like clutch here, right?
Pakistan coming in hot.
Yeah.
Who would have thought Pakistan would save us from World War III potentially? Who knows?
Wild. A country that is got its own complications and, a very diverse political sphere as well. Clutch in this whole situation. I think that's part of, Sunni Shia potentially relations there as well. There's things to say about that, but and that Iran's Shia, so Pakistan has a Shia population. Anyway, the thing is, I just, he's obviously just gone, well, I can't. Like, I've got no other options here. The only option is to take their peace plan. And, he is obviously, and we'll talk about it in a minute, someone who's able to be influenced. So I suspect there are people around him, or, whether it's the Pakistanis directly, have said, please do this, it'll do these things. And he's just going, okay, I can't be stuffed anymore.
I love that the objective of this war is to now undo the consequences of the war that Americans started.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Every comedian I've seen's been like, okay, and it was a huge victory because the Strait of Hormuz, which was totally open and free to use before we did this, is now totally open, and it cost you $2 million. We did it.
We did it.
We did it. Flawless victory.
And Trump saying that they were going to split the toll with the Iranians. Everything's a scam with this guy. Everything is always looking for an angle as to how can we fucking enrich ourselves off the back of this fucking problem that we cause.
So they've started these negotiations. They had a 14-hour sort of session yesterday, depending on what time zone you're in, where they've they're going to have some more talks in a couple of days, or
there's
next week,
another
I think.
and another round of talks on Sunday. So we're currently recording at 11 o'clock on Sunday the 12th. So Sunday American time. So in about 12 hours, they'll be back at it again.
Sunday the 12th. That's
Sunday the
12th.
Is that what I said?
Is that like the 8th day of the week?
It's everything. Now that I'm working out, everything's based in swole numbers. So
lousy smarch weather.
Smarch.
So it's funny because there was a ceasefire, and then a couple of ships went through the Strait of Hormuz, and the IDF, Israel's Defense Force, basically said, "Cool, so we're just going to keep bombing Lebanon," and unleashed a flurry of attacks against Lebanon.
Yeah, Lebanon wasn't part of the deal, right?
100 strikes in 10 minutes or something. Thousands of people injured and killed, and Iran was like, "Whoa, like." We just called a ceasefire. Like, what are you guys?
The hell are you
doing? What are you guys doing? So, like, JD Vance was like, I think it was the translators. They didn't understand that Lebanon wasn't part of the deal. It's totally separate. And it's like, no. But
it's
if you look at
the point, it's
literally a point on the plan, on the
Yeah.
deal that you guys had, is that there'd be a ceasefire in Lebanon as well. So, and then Israel's like, well, Scorpion's got a scorp. Pew 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 pew.
Yeah,
that story of the scorpion and the frog. It's like, I can't help my nature. I just got to bomb Lebanon. It's in me now. I can't help myself.
Oh yeah. Well, if they don't use all the bombs on Lebanon, they don't get as much next year.
They go exactly right. It's a budgetary thing. You got to go through it. Yeah, they actually go off after a while, so you got to use them before they go bad. So I just I saw that about Israel bombing. I was like, oh, good, we got a potential ceasefire. It's very fragile, but let's hope it holds. Maybe this whole economy world-shattering situation
might come back.
Maybe we can come back from this, in a matter of months or a year or two, and it won't be as bad. And Israel just starts bombing. I was like, bro, can you just not for 5 fucking minutes? Can you just fucking not? Like, the IDF, it just drives me so fucking nuts that amidst all of this, they're like, yeah, might kick off another round of global turmoil, but oh well, bomber's got a bomb. Yeet! Like,
I
can't.
So the reason for this is that, so when Iran released their 10-point plan originally, which was a week or two ago, Israel said no. Well, these are terms are unacceptable. That we can't. Lebanon
Who's the
should
superpower
not
here?
be. But this is the thing, and we'll talk.
Who's the superpower? Is it America or is it Israel?
This has been the tail wagging my dog for over 2 years now, almost. So Israel is, allegedly now, since they conducted that attack, they're now talking to the Lebanese government, but the Lebanese government isn't what they're targeting anyway. It's Hezbollah, so it's like they're just basically what's happened here is Israel was kept out of this ceasefire deal. Israel was not party to this ceasefire deal, but the expectation is that they will be have to abide by it anyway because the Americans have made the decision. So for Netanyahu, it's frustrating because keep in mind
because he's busy doing his ethnic cleansing. Clearing all of the south of Lebanon. I was in the middle of a genocidal project here, guys. What are you doing? Yeah. Give us a phone call first.
And Laura Tingle's written an article here, but it's quite clear that the Israeli war aim, and it's been quite clear from the start, the Israeli war aims are different to the American ones. Israel, or at least Netanyahu specifically and his cabinet, are trying to destroy Iran. They don't care how many people die. They don't care if it's a failed state. They don't care as long as Israel, quote unquote, the old enemy, as far back as biblical times, right? This is the other thing you don't realize about the whole Iran-Israel thing is from a historical point of view, they see the Persian Empire as
they're still
rival.
In Cyrus the Great mode,
right.
The hot gates at Thermopylae. That is the historical terms in which the region is framed as this larger, broader, existential, sort of generational, conflict between
the state of Israel, was gobbled up, millennia ago by the Assyrians and all these other different sort of
fucking ancient Sumerian civilizations which no longer exist, right?
Yeah, but they all came from sort of that side of the
ledger.
So the point being is for Israel, it's one, it's political. Like Netanyahu needs to keep his war going because it's his own political survival that depends on it. And secondly, it's an existential thing, a cultural thing that they see the whole thing as like, well,
their
the gates
land.
it's like October 7 was their 9/11, and it's like, well, this gives us the license to pursue the things that we've always wanted to pursue but have not been able to.
Ethnic cleansing, like,
correct.
Alleged
Land
genocide. Like,
well, not so much ethnic cleansing, but also like, let's expand our borders. Like that's what they're doing in Lebanon.
annexing territory. But that's been the project all along with the settlements and all this sort of stuff. Is this idea of the greater Israel, right?
But
like
again, let's them do it. Let's them do it faster now, right? Because they can go, well, there's a military reason for us to do it, and there's an existential threat. Hezbollah, Iran, it's all a problem.
Never mind that Netanyahu understood that Hezbollah was, getting money through and, allowed it to happen, and, sort of propped Hezbollah up as Hamas up as an entity to allow them to continue existing in order to, continue dividing the Palestinians against one another. But that's a whole separate story.
Yeah. So now the Israelis are at a point where it's like, they've managed to goad the US, that they managed to get them to do the first set of strikes back in, was January. They've now had a 6-week war. Are you talking about
in last year, or you're saying this
the ones where they
when they
the bunkers.
the bunkers, that was like in July, I think.
July. So they managed to get the Americans to go in on that. They've now managed them to have them commit to a 6-week war.
Hi, I'm Bibi Netanyahu, and here's what dragging the world into a third world war has taught me about B2B sales.
I mean, literally.
I can sell anything to anyone, Bibi.
And it's worth talking about, that how this came about was Bibi Netanyahu went to the White House and basically oversold the intel that the Israelis had about, we can get some quick wins here. We can get rid of the Iranian regime. They're ready to rise up. We've got all this intel. Let's do it. And Trump's response was, sounds good to me.
That's a direct quote from the article. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is some reporting that has come out of, I think, the New York Times.
Jonathan Swan and Maggie Haberman. They've got a forthcoming book, but they're famous for very deep reporting within the Trump regime for Axios and other outlets.
So, and then, shortly afterwards, obviously, this whole thing started going down. So it's obvious, and this is not just an isolated incident. Mossad often overstate the intelligence that they have. Like, this is not a new phenomenon. There are podcasts and stuff about this where people talk about it and the way they operate. And even the Americans, like people within the administration, according to this reporting, turned around afterwards and were like,
that's all bullshit.
This is completely. This doesn't line up with what we've got.
That's
at all.
not correct.
But no one stopped it.
No one could stop Daddy Trump from doing what he wanted to do.
Well, did he want to do it? Did anyone turn around and say this is a terrible idea? Because he does seem very able to be influenced. So why
his
are
brain
people
is melting because he has frontotemporal lobe dementia and his brain is turning to soup.
Like, why didn't Marco Rubio just be like, "Sir, this is a terrible
Marco Rubio
idea.
is walking around in clown shoes because he can't admit to Daddy that he told him that his feet were bigger than they are. Okay, Trump bought him size 11 shoes because Marco wanted to seem like a big man with big feet, and you know what big feet mean. And so he said he's size 11. He's walking around in fucking clown shoes because he can't tell Trump that he's got size 9 feet as opposed to size 11. So you think he's going to turn around and be the adult in the room on Iran? Really?
So basically, we're in a conflict here because the administration was influenced by a very sophisticated foreign intelligence actor and government, and because people in the administration weren't willing to fucking stand up.
The craziest thing about all of this to me is that there's a reporting as part of this that shows that Netanyahu and one of his advisors, whoever it was, had this meeting with Trump in the Situation Room. I cannot think the Situation Room, by definition, is a secure facility under the White House. It's a SCIF, right? It is for secure communications specifically for like the Osama bin Laden operation was run out of the Situation Room, right? Like this is the kind of area where only high-level officials from your government would ever enter into, because if someone were to put a bug or some sort of listening device, it is the most secure area and the most secure part of the most secure building in the world. And the idea that Bibi Netanyahu was just in there chatting away is I've never heard of someone outside the government being in the Situation Room. It just shows the level of access that Netanyahu and his cronies have to the highest levels of the American apparatus. They're welcome in like equals into the most, secret spaces of the American regime. It's actually insane.
And so we're in a situation now where Trump, it's obvious, Trump wants to get out of this. Like he doesn't. And like Trump has always said, I don't want to, like, this is the whole MAGA thing. Let's not get in wars. Let's not do this. He's also been someone who has been pretty afraid of nuclear war historically.
Yeah, but wanted to also nuke a hurricane in 2017 when, I say that he ran on all this stuff about not wanting forever wars, but he's been one of the most violent presidents of recent history, decapitating the Venezuelan Maduro regime, strikes in, I think it's 7, 8 countries since he took office. Like, yeah, they don't want forever wars, but they're happy with this bomber mafia, terror from the skies kind of campaign.
Well, you see it as like limited strikes is kind of what has been the modus operandi thus far. Limited strikes.
Yeah, that's a euphemism if I ever heard one. Yeah.
But this has been the first one.
Is this like collective self-defense, like same kind of euphemism?
Well, this is the first one where they've been caught in the escalation trap, right? Where it's like it's gotten beyond Trump's ability to control it. So it's been quite obvious, I think, just from the tweets and the news and the reporting over the last week that he's quite keen to just get this, to make this stop. And to go back and pretend like everything's fine, because the midterms, of course, are coming up. Not to mention a bunch of other stuff like, the base is turning against him. All of the NATO are not happy. Like Mark, what's his name? Rutte.
Mark Rutte,
Secretary General, was in Washington earlier the week trying to patch up the NATO relationship. There was apparently this conversation did not go well.
Because his brain is melting. This is the thing.
And
the man's brain is falling apart. He is not in a position to, and for everyone, talking about the 25th Amendment and we'll just replace it with JD Vance and that, it would not work. And there's an article that we've got, you can, the link will be in the show notes where you can review it. But essentially, if you 25th Amendment a president, remove him from office, is like a 3-week period. He has to defend himself, and the Congress needs to have a super majority of both houses to make it actually stick. It is not a mechanism that in any realistic way works. And even if it did, you'd be stuck with what? JD Vance and then Mike Johnson as number 2. You're still stuck with a fucking B team of Republican psychopaths who want to go to, and destroy the world. So the 25th Amendment is not coming to save us. The only thing that can really slightly abridge Trump's power at this point is if they lose a majority of the House and the Senate in the midterm elections coming up in November. And thankfully, the polling against Trump is so woeful. He's polling somewhere between syphilis and bed sores in terms of people's approval of him at the moment.
Pick one. Which one do you want?
Syphilis is more fun to get.
He's probably got both. The idea that, he's so unpopular at the moment that a generic Democrat, you just Dem versus, Republican in any seat is running 7 points ahead on average is crazy, considering how he swept the last election in many of these seats. There is some polling that I've seen that has generic Democrats up 13, 15 points against generic Republicans. So it's looking for Democrats like they will win the House off the back of this on these numbers. They might even be able to pick up the Senate, which is notoriously difficult for Democrats because of how it's the Senate map and how it's laid out and what seats come up and all this sort of stuff, right? So the only way, I think, to abridge Trump's power at this stage as he declines is to take both houses of Congress and just try and deny him anything that he wants to try and do. The problem
or
is
try and impeach him if you've got both houses.
you're not going to
potentially.
impeach him and remove him. It's the same thing as the 25th Amendment. Like you're not going to be able to get it to stick.
The threshold is
you
lower,
need 2/3
though, like,
majorities.
only in the Senate, right? You need a 2/3. In the House, it's half. For
You need
impeachment.
60. I think it's 60 seats in the Senate. Yeah.
Yeah,
But the Republicans won't. If you're relying 8 years in on Republicans growing a spine in order to actually get this guy removed, you're dreaming. Like they never will. It's only now, after the guy's brain is fully melted, that people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and people like that are coming out against him, right? Like you're seeing fractures, but it's not the kind of like tidal wave that one would need to see him impeached, right? So that's not a realistic option. You just need to limit his power and then like box him in for the next 3 years and hope he doesn't start a fucking world war in the meantime, right? That's really the only option.
The other thing that's important to note here is that the Strait of Hormuz thus far is not widely open. There are reports that
two ships that went through or something.
Well, they were trying to clear mines, but then the Iranians disputed that. So obviously there's still, I think, certain countries can still pay that toll and go through, but like we're still at this situation where, for Israel, they're looking at a complete strategic failure since October 7. All they've done really is just make people angry against them.
Chaos, disaster, murder, alleged genocide.
Yeah.
Like it's even worse somehow than America's response to 9/11 in a lot of ways, because
it is. It's been just without, what's the word I'm looking for?
Without direction, without strategy. It's just a machine gun hitting the ground and just shooting everyone around it.
Yeah, carte blanche. Like, what's the sort of, like, we just throw shit at the wall and just, there's an expression.
Throwing spaghetti.
So for Israel, they're basically looking at a strategic failure if they're forced into a situation where they can't keep going with this, Iran.
And yet, a lot of their key enemies in the region have been weakened substantially by what's occurred.
Weakened, but like not taken off. And this is the thing. This is what the US learnt. This is what the US learnt with GWAT.
Yeah.
Is that you may take pieces off the board, but you'll never remove the enemy entirely, and in some cases the enemy morphs and changes into something far worse.
Yeah, which is why we as a society developed diplomacy.
Israel,
you can't, unless you genocide and just eviscerate everyone on the other side, you can never fully win because you need to still live next to these people, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly. At the end of the day, geography wins. They are in a situation now where, they've weakened Hezbollah. Yeah, Hamas is weakened, but Hamas still exists. They're not disarmed. Hezbollah still exists. They're not disarmed. Iran still exists, still has missile ability to launch offensive missiles.
Still has the ability to
and
close
everyone
the strait, fuck up the world economy.
Hates them so much more for it.
Yeah, it's not doing great for people's attitudes towards anti-Semitism either, because Israel is so closely affiliated with the religion of Judaism, which is an interconnectedness that they've fostered, right? That Israel's synonymous with Jewishness. So what you're actually getting is rising anti-Semitism across the board, across different countries, because people see what Israel's doing and they're associating it with Judaism, which again is wrong, but like that's what's happening in people's heads, right?
Yep.
So you're making the world less safe for your own people, as you describe them.
Which
right?
is, and I keep thinking about October 7 and like, what was the strategic goal of? We're assuming when they had one of Hamas when they launched that attack, and it's kind of like they've actually gotten almost like through the genocide of their own people, they've kind of gotten what they wanted, which is to turn the world back against Israel, which I find.
Yeah, and to break
horrific and sad.
Break up the normalization of relations between Saudi Arabia and
They've
Israel.
They've kind of got what they wanted through doing that, which, it's a Pyrrhic victory, but they've kind of succeeded. And I find that, like, so sad that is where we're at. And what's happened for the US? The US political institutions have been weakened. They've expended all their ammunition that'll take years to rebuild.
Yeah, blood
They've
and treasure.
strategically weakened the situation in Ukraine.
And bases and stuff in the Gulf that the Americans are not,
NATO.
not admitting to how badly they've been destroyed
lost
or
a shitload of stuff,
necessarily how many people have been injured or killed. Like the American administration is like actively covering up the extent to which they've been harmed by all of this, right?
I mean, there's the material losses, but my point is strategically the West, quote unquote, has been materially weakened.
Yeah.
In fact, it's probably one of these situations where we'll look back in 50 years and go, well, that was the end.
That was the turning point
of American imperialism. And that's often how these kind of things go. Countries, empires, powers
overextend,
and they will try to, a waning power will try and claw back through military action, these kind of things. And so it's just these kind of things just keep repeating themselves throughout history, and America and Israel are both they're fallen into the same traps that history has shown they shouldn't fall into, and they haven't learned from them.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my rant.
Let's talk about Melania.
Melania. So Melania Trump had a surprise speech this week, which no one, including Donald Trump, as it appears, was actually expecting in any way. And for the longest time, I really didn't know what the fuck it was about, and neither did anyone else.
Like, what?
So it starts with an incredibly long walk up. So if you're not on the YouTube, get on the YouTube because you're missing out. So here's Melania Trump walking up like she's Obama, declaring that that they got Osama bin Laden or something in the Rose Garden. Like it's a very long walk up, but you'll hear her starting to talk in a few minutes, and we'll play a good chunk of it because it's instructive. But yeah, it's walking up. Here she is.
The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today. The individuals lying about me are devoid of ethical standards, humility, and respect. I do not object to their ignorance, but rather I reject their mean-spirited attempts to defame my reputation. I never been friends with Epstein. Donald and I were invited to the same parties as Epstein from time to time, since overlapping in social circles is common in New York City and Palm Beach. To be clear, I never had a relationship with Epstein or his accomplice, Maxwell. My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence. My polite reply to her email doesn't amount to anything more than a tribal note. I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump. I met my husband by chance at the New York City party in 1998. This initial encounter with my husband is documented in detail in my book, Melania. The first
Got to get the book plug in.
time I crossed paths with Epstein was in the year 2000 at an event Donald and I attended together. At the time, I had never met Epstein and had no knowledge of his criminal undertakings. Numerous fake images and statements about Epstein and me have been circulating on social media for years now.
I hate it when fake images calculate on social media.
Be cautious about what you believe. These images and stories are completely false. I'm not a witness or a named witness in connection with any of Epstein's crimes. My name has never appeared in court documents, depositions, victim statements, or FBI interviews surrounding the Epstein matter. I have never had any knowledge of Epstein abuse of his victims. I was never involved in any capacity. I was not a participant, was never on Epstein's plane, and never visited his private island.
Yeah, that's the important part.
So I've
Because-
never heard her speak before.
Oh, really?
What?
Never.
I am here to address the vicious lies that I am involved in Area 51. It's like, what are you talking about, Melania? Who was talking about this?
Yeah.
What?
I mean, I don't think English is her first language, so
No.
let's don't be too mean about that. But
I just find it, and South Park, I've talked about this, South Park had an episode where they sort of portrayed Melania as this lady in the hat that's sort of this ghost that sort of stands, a
That
phantom, haunts the White House. It doesn't say anything at all. She's sort of this presence that's just there that people forget about sometimes.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I mean, according
that's the first time I've heard her,
Yeah.
apart from her film and book and stuff, that's the first time I've actually heard her talk at a major announcements.
Her and Donald have been at a remove for some time, according to all of the reports that I've seen, is that, yeah, she's, especially during the second term, she's just like very much not on board. It's like, I will be around for the occasional photo shoot and to hold your hand, and I need my millions, and I'm going to go over here and I want a payment from Jeff Bezos or something every so often in order to continue this relationship, right? Like, she's maintaining her own sort of very much distance from Donald, right?
So this was kind of not something that was being discussed. It's not like she's responding to anything that's out yet. So why is she saying all this stuff?
So why is she saying all this stuff? So, okay, so everyone, when this statement came out, everyone was like, huh? And so there's been a lot of reporting since to sort of figure out what exactly the basis of this is. Now, I had heard rumors that there was something, some book coming out, where someone had talked about, the idea that allegedly Melania met Trump through Jeffrey Epstein the first time that they had sex was on the Lolita Express. That's all I heard. I've no way of validating those rumors or whether that was true. It was just something that was kind of like floating around in the podcast sphere. I sort of barely paid any attention to it because it's like, who cares? What happened in October is that Melania Trump launched a legal action against one Michael Wolff, friend of the show, Michael Wolff, and grubby Trump and Epstein friend and reporter who's published a number of books on the Trump administration, and it surrounds Fire and Fury being one of the famous ones, which I read, has an upcoming book called, I'll just find the actual name of it, The Art of Her Deal. The Untold Story of Melania Trump Redux, which is pending. I don't know. So it might be a pending title. So, but that is meant to be dropping in the not too distant future. So in October of last year, Melania Trump sued Michael Wolff for $1 billion for libel.
Sorry, with a billion with a B.
$1 billion with a B.
What the fuck?
And interestingly, because it was done in the state of New York, presumably where Michael Wolff resides, it was subject to these things called anti-SLAPP laws. So anti-SLAPP laws, we don't need to go into the detail of it, but essentially it's like you as a rich person can't bully people with frivolous defamation lawsuits, right? Like there needs to be a certain standard of proof. I'll just read a quick thing about it. It allows the SLAPP to defend to recover costs and attorney's fees upon a demonstration that the SLAPP, SLAPP, was commenced or continued without a substantial basis in fact and law and could not be supported by a substantial argument for the extension, modification, or reversal of existing law. So basically, if you're a rich person, you can't just slap a defamation lawsuit on a poor person and bully them with money whenever you feel like it, right? Like there's a higher standard. And
I feel like we should have that in Australia.
Yeah, it's pretty good, actually. That's probably not a bad idea. So he's actually turned around and countersued her for violating his First Amendment, protected freedom of speech and all this sort of stuff. He's saying, I'm not saying what's in this book, but like this is all based on reporting and other people and their perspectives, right? And from what I can tell, from having read some of Michael Wolff's previous books, they are like concerningly well sourced. like to the extent to which you go, how did you get all this sourcing for this book, Michael? Like he's talking about stuff not as though so-and-so claims this, but like this was said in the room and like I can back it up sort of thing. like it's more narrative.
It's like he's got the bugs that Bibi Netanyahu left behind him in the situation room. He's got straight access.
I thought my intel on the situation room was pretty good, but I didn't realize we had the whole thing down pat. Did you guys know there's a third monitor behind this panel? Yeah. It's really good. So yeah, really, like very, very, very sourced reporting from Michael Wolff in the past. So if he's making claims about Melania Trump and, you know, how she got her visa. So Melania Trump's on an Einstein visa. Have you guys ever heard of this?
I've
briefly from the story you posted 5 minutes before the show.
Nicknamed the Einstein visa, EB1 is in theory reserved for people who are highly acclaimed in their field. The government cites Pulitzer, Oscar, and Olympic winners as examples, as well as respected academic researchers and multinational executives. These are the kind of visas that we restrict for like big-time A-list Hollywood celebrities who want to, you know, come to America, that sort of thing, right?
Or like, so, if you are Einstein and we're going to, like, get
like if you're Werner von Braun and we're going to take you out of the Nazi rocket system and bring you over and have you run NASA, then yeah, that's the sort of visa that you might get. Now, this is separate to the O visa, which is like for highly talented people. This is like a level above that. The Einstein visa goes to like, you know, a handful of people per year. Like Slovenia, in the year that she was granted this visa, got 5 Einstein visas for the country. So it's like maybe a couple of hundred people across the world per year get one of these. It's for the best of the best. And the thing is, when Melania got this visa in 2000, like she was Donald Trump's girlfriend, but that's about it. Like she hasn't done anything exceptional. She wasn't
a Sports Illustrated model, right?
She was a model, but she wasn't a supermodel. She wasn't Elle Macpherson. She wasn't, Giselle Bundchen or whatever her name is.
She wasn't
right?
an ambassador for like a global brand or anything.
No. She was just a model, right? Like she's done a couple of covers, but you know, she had a good career. She'd probably get in on an O visa, but not on this Einstein visa. And the allegation, presumably, is that, you know, this visa was obtained via Trump and potentially via Epstein, and you know, and potentially that. You know, I guess the allegations that have been floating around is that Epstein sort of procured Melania for Trump as part of this sort of human trafficking network that he ran. So the thing is, like, no one was talking about this. Just like Streisand affected the absolute fuck out of this story into the stratosphere now. Because everyone's going like,
everyone's looking.
What's going on? What happened here? Like, what are you talking about? So
yeah, the big takeaway I've seen just from her giving this speech is, what is she getting ahead of? And then everyone started looking into it.
Yes.
Like, so...
and Michael Wolff basically did an interview with the Daily Beast, again, which we'll link the video in the show notes, which is pretty, the interviewer's asking him, so like, what do you think this is about? He's like, Joanna Coles from the Daily Beast asked him, Michael Wolff goes, yeah, it's about me. It's about this book that I got coming out. So it's just given... I didn't know the name of the book beforehand, and now I know The Art of Her Deal is now in my head. Watch out in good bookstores near you, coming soon. Like it's just absolutely the amount of earned media that it's given this guy, Michael Wolff, who, let's not forget, is the sleaziest fuck guy who had like a personal relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, was like offering him counsel long after his conviction about like how to reposition himself and all this sort of stuff, along with double shirt wearing douchebag Steve Bannon, you know, who put together a documentary series to try and resurrect, you know, Epstein. There's this whole apparatus of shitheads around Epstein that were like trying to rehabilitate him after his conviction, right? His initial conviction. So, and Michael Wolff was one of those. So like, let's be clear. He's not the good guy in this. He seems like a real piece of shit, but like.
And he obviously must have been, you know, to have some of the levels of, we've talked about it before on the show, the levels of access. That
insane access.
Yeah. People trusted him because they felt like he was on their side. And then he was like, well, I can make a buck out of this. And
for the first book, he was just like walking around the White House and everyone was like,
Who is this guy?
Who's this guy? How'd you get in? It's like, oh yeah, like Donald said it was all right. And they're like, all right, I guess I'll tell you everything. It's like, you know, like he was just like, hey, Donald, can I do a book? And for whatever reason, the guy trusted him. So this guy has had a crazy amount of access. So for him to be writing a whole book about this suggests to me that it's sourced on something. You can't put a book like this out about the First Lady with Michael Wolff and his
Unless-
reputation
yeah.
and knowing that it's false, right? Like, it's got to be backed up by something.
Unless
You would
he's
think.
like, it's like, I've had 2, what is he up to now?
This is his fourth?
Fourth Trump
Yeah,
book?
or he's published 4 already?
Yeah, so like,
3,
unless
4?
he's sort of, it's like, well, it's like this sort of thing of like, overextending. It's like, well, I've had these books that were well resourced. I'm no longer part of this administration, but I got some information I could probably sort of, I'll just sort of throw it out there.
The context that he
Yeah.
has, like, from what we've seen in the Epstein emails, the contact that he had with him is enough for that's a whole book in and
So
of
he's got
itself.
content.
He's got content. Yeah.
Anyway, it is.
But it's so funny. The
Such a
number one
weird
comment
conference.
on all the videos of Melania talking about this is like, what's happening? What's about to drop? Like, something's coming,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's clearly she's trying to get ahead and of something. And apparently Donald Trump was not consulted on this at all.
Nope.
She's like, well, my husband's brain is melting and I need to protect myself. It's so funny because, like, the allegation was that the war with Iran was started to draw attention away from the Epstein files. And then she's like, great, we got a ceasefire, back on Epstein. Like,
Yep.
it really does feel like she's completely throwing her husband sort of under the bus here. She was talking later on in the video, she talks about how she wants all of Epstein's victims to come and testify to Congress under oath. And I was like, Donald Trump absolutely fucking does not want that, right?
They've got separate speechwriters, so I think we can safely assume at this point.
Yeah, separate goals in mind. Just like the US and Israel, they've got different strategic goals in mind as to the outcomes, right?
Well,
Yeah,
one
well,
has goals and the other one doesn't, is the other thing.
The guy
But-
we were talking about last
yeah.
week, who the PhD frontotemporal dementia expert
Yeah.
guy that's been appearing all over social media. I was
What are we
saying,
down to,
I think
14 days?
Yeah,
What are we down to?
he said 14 days in the video about this speech, but that was like 3 days ago, so we're in 11 days now apparently. But yeah, his thing was like, I think she's been told her husband's not long for this world and
Well-
is doing damage control in advance. But that was just his opinion, obviously. But
The fact that the first
Man,
lady...
if that guy turns out to be right, I will.
Crazy.
I'm done. I'm actually getting off the internet.
What are
I'm
the Kalshi odds on that, on the president's brain fully melting down in the next 2 weeks?
Surely not.
But I also love it if
Surely
he's right
not,
on
right?
that. It's so funny that we're being like, if he's right on that, that's insane. I'm like, the guy who's got like 14 years experience and a PhD and all this sort of stuff was right on a diagnosis? I'd fucking hope so.
Well, yeah, but I think to narrow down a timeline like that, I think is just ridiculous. Like,
I
you
guess
can
that's
say
in his experience of
Trump-
seeing
Trump is
patients like
clearly-
this. Yeah.
Trump is clearly in decline. He clearly has a number of health issues. He's getting increasingly unhinged. It's not the sort of thing that you can put a date on and say, like, 14th of October, his brain's going to explode like fucking Hiroshima. Like, that's not how it works. It's a decline, right? And you can decline at a rate and pace that doesn't line up with people's timelines, right? So
Well, maybe
Also-
in his experience it does. It's like seeing this rate of decline. People
I
have
guess.
have like declined and died in like seeing someone at this point of cognitive decline with this condition. They had 2 months left, and he's then been going, and it's still consistent with that timeline. I mean, I don't know. It's in the calendar.
he's definitely losing the plot. I mean, I've got don't get me wrong, got a bottle of champagne chilling just in case. You never know, but
Meanwhile, like, we didn't even talk about this. Like, NASA went around the moon again and returned
Yeah.
astronauts back to
Oh.
Earth, and there was
Yeah.
like,
Fucking rules.
that was pretty cool.
and it's like it's like that's happening at the same time as the whole Iran thing. It's like, how can this country, again, it's like two ideas at the same time, right? How can this country be doing something so cool, so amazing, so great for humanity, and then at the same time
And also
destabilizing the entire
Bombing
world?
girls' schools. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, it must be.
Insane.
I can't wait to hear the interviews and things like that with those astronauts on the Artemis 2 mission, because there's such a long documented history of like people who have
He tweeted
done,
what?
have done space flights and then come back and been like having a real existential crisis, just like to be bearing witness to that cosmic
the
scale,
enormity of
Yeah.
cosmic.
the
yeah.
enormity of it all, our insignificance and all that, and then coming back and like readjusting into civilian life and things like that from there. That probably having that perspective of what's been going on, but you're just seeing the Earth just as the silent ball that it is, just
blue
floating
marble.
in the cosmos, a tiny bubble in the great expanse of all
So
of the
it's-
grand majesty of our universe. And
It's
be like,
called the overseer effect. It's a documented phenomenon when people oversee the whole world from a distance like that. It creates a psychological effect where you sort of go, man, our problems are all really small. We're just one tiny part of a massive, massive universe and galaxy. Like, this really, really puts things into perspective. And then they land, and then their phones go, whoop, 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 whoop. And they're like, he threatened to genocide Iran. What the fuck? They're just like immediately back into it. They're just like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. This guy's insane.
Yeah.
What? Can I go back? Send me back. I saw the dark side of the fucking moon. I saw something that no human has ever laid eyes on. And now I'm back and it's fucking Iran chat and Melania. What the fuck are you talking to? Send me back. I don't want to come back.
it's so great. I forget which astronaut it was. It must have been one of the previous Apollo missions because it involved the moon. But yeah, that they had some real mental health issues when they came back to Earth because they said while they were on the moon, they just looked back at the Earth and like held up their thumb and could hide the whole Earth behind their thumb. And they're like, that kind of broke my brain. Like that
everyone you've ever loved, every civilization that's ever existed, all of human history exists on this tiny little dot, and we're also insignificant.
hidden.
And you think it'd be a moment to humble malignant narcissists like Donald Trump and sort of force them to
Are
examine
you
their
saying we
perspective
need
in
to
the
send
world,
him up there?
I mean,
Donald, you're going to the moon.
yeah, we could do a Project Hail Mary and just shoot him up to the moon and see how it goes. Yeah, why not?
We
Hey,
should
Donald
talk
Trump,
about
you can be
actually.
forever president of the moon base. You want to head up?
Yeah.
You'd be president of a whole planet, buddy.
We should next week. I might actually. We'll put some stuff up because NASA has pivoted their entire sort of moon strategy the last sort of few months. So it's pretty worth talking about. The other thing I want to talk about next week, I'm going to flag this one early, is the whole JD Vance, Viktor Orban rally thing in Hungary because that's interesting.
We
Actively
have been talking
campaigning.
a lot about Hungary and their upcoming election. And
It was just really hungry. Just really
Very
want
good.
some fries.
Good dad joke. Very good. Yeah, but the idea that there's a war in Iran going on and JD Vance is like just campaigning for a far-right member of a European country that he has really no trade with or it's just nuts. Yeah, we'll talk about it more.
We'll come back to it next week.
On that note, we are, and we always will be Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com. Make sure that you follow us on all the social medias that are ruining the world, that have, do, or ever will exist, at our handle, at Unnatural Show. That's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and mother flippin' TikTok. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube and hit the bell icon so you can get all of these wonderful clips and videos of Melania strutting down in silence at length on your YouTube. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Jorge Tsipos.
you can follow me on Threads at tom.heath.
And don't follow me anywhere.
Thanks for listening, guys. Love your faces. We'll see you next week. Has Michael Wolff got personal security, do you reckon? Or
If he doesn't, he probably should.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. This one also strangled himself.
Take the Russian approach, like just really high buildings, just stairs everywhere.
It's all these slippery balconies that these guys have. So weird. See you next week, guys.